Alright guys, another day and we are back for some more transfer rumours. Plenty to go through today. Obviously we're coming off the back of a jam-packed day in the Championship yesterday as well. If you went to any of those matches, get your thoughts on them down below. We've got more games coming up in the Championship in midweek. Tomorrow we'll have the preview video out for those matches. But before we jump into any transfer rumours, let's go ahead and jump into the done deals. We've obviously seen Helix deal to Oxford United being confirmed. I think that's a cracking bit of business from Oxford there. We discussed this one on last time's video, but it has since been confirmed, and he did make his debut for the club over the weekend during that 1-0 triumph against Blackburn as well. Definitely a Championship quality player with plenty of experience under his belt as well. I think that one ticks so many boxes for Oxford. We've also seen Romain Esse's move to Crystal Palace being confirmed as well. He's signed with Palace on a contract until 2030. Millwall will receive a fee of around about 14.5 million with add-ons included. I think we've all known that this one has been in the pipeline for quite some time. There was a little bit of late interest from Bournemouth, but that didn't amount to anything in the end. I think Palace are getting a really good player here. They've got a good track record with developing young stars coming out of the Championship as well. And Millwall have obviously got a big cash injection for the sale. It's a shame to see him go, but I think he'll thrive at a club like Palace over these next few years. But those are a few of the done deals that have gone through in the past couple of days. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into the transfer rumours. Hull City are expected to confirm the signing of Blackpool forward Kyle Joseph after the Tigers have struck an agreement with Blackpool for around about 2.5 million. We knew that Hull were after a forward or two in this window, and it seems like they've got their man in Joseph. Now, last time we saw Joseph in the Championship while he was playing for Swansea, he wasn't maybe quite cut out for the level, didn't really get a consistent run of games at Swansea, but since that point he's obviously gone out to Blackpool, been developing quite well in League One over these last 18 months. So far this season for Blackpool has got 8 goals and 3 assists. Still don't think he's the finished product by any means, but he gives you some legs going forward and seems to have improved his finishing as well. Interested to see how that one turns out for Hull. Speaking of Hull City, there could also be a few departures over these coming days, one of them being Ryan Giles, who wasn't involved in the matchday squad over the weekend for Hull as they travelled to Millwall and got all 3 points. Sellers leaving him out, along with Ryan Longman, who we'll speak about in a minute, as he sort of said they're basically not in the right frame of mind right now amid all the speculation surrounding them. Borough continuing to have talks with Hull over this deal, and it's thought that something could be finalised next week for Giles. Another exit which seems to be edging ever closer is Ryan Longman, who looks to be on his way to sign for Oxford United. As of right now, Oxford have agreed a deal in principle with Hull for Longman, but the Tigers won't sanction that exit until they've got all their pieces in one place and they have his replacement through the door. So Longman to Oxford looks like it'll be going through in these coming days. And Still Quiet is another player that Oxford have been sniffing around of late as well, with Burnley reportedly willing to sanction a loan deal for the centre-half. Can also play at left back as well, so is fairly versatile. A few Championship clubs are said to be interested, but I've only seen Oxford named as of right now. One potential departure from Oxford though could be Tyler Goodrham, because a number of Championship clubs are currently sniffing around the 21-year-old. According to recent reports, you've got the likes of Sunderland, Leeds, Coventry and Swansea who are all supposedly tracking him. Now, I think it's fair to say the 21-year-old has been one of Oxford's top performers so far this season. He's got 6 goal contributions with 3 goals and 3 assists. Very versatile, has played in a number of different roles for Oxford this year as well. Technically a very good player, and I could see why there would be interest from a few top Championship clubs. Now, the good news for Oxford is that they have him tied down to a long-term contract. He's under contract with the club until 2027 with an option of an extra year as well. So I think if any deal was to go through in January, you'd imagine it would have to be for a pretty sizable chunk of change. Sevilla forward Kelechi Iheanacho is available on loan for the second half of the season. Leeds United are the latest club that have reportedly expressed an interest in taking him for the second half of the campaign, but according to local reports that I've seen coming out of Leeds, it seems like this one is pretty unlikely. We have spoken about Iheanacho a few times on the channel this month. Earlier in the window, Watford expressed an interest in taking him on loan. We've since had a few Premier League clubs sniffing around, Wolves being one of them, for example. Listen, I think Iheanacho would be a decent option, more than decent option in fact, for a number of Championship clubs if they were able to land a loan deal, but it looks like maybe a loan deal to the Premier League is more likely for him at this stage. Now, earlier in the transfer window, window, Leeds United had expressed an interest in taking Buendia on loan from Aston Villa for the remainder of the season. Obviously, the Argentine playmaker hasn't played a great deal of football over these last 18 months. He's recently recovered from an ACL injury, and Unai Emery's latest comments on Buendia have been quite eye-opening. He basically said that there is a possibility that Buendia could leave the club on loan in January in order to get a few more minutes in his legs and basically get his confidence back. And I think a move to a side like Leeds United, who are flying high at the top of the Championship right now, could be a really good move for him. Obviously, already well acquainted with Daniel Farke from their time previously working together at Norwich City. Listen, Buendia himself may no longer quite be at the very peak of his powers because he's coming off such a big injury, but if I was Leeds, I'd absolutely roll the dice and try and get a loan deal for Buendia for the remainder of the season. That absolutely could be the difference between, finishing in the top two or finishing third, for instance. We'll have to wait and see if we get any more updates on that over these next coming days, but that update there from Unai Emery is pretty promising from a Leeds United perspective, albeit I'd probably expect a few European sides to be sniffing around a potential loan deal as well. Former Sheffield Wednesday defender Azaze Urugide is currently being linked with the likes of Bristol City and Swansea City. Now, this would be an interesting move. It would be quite nice to see him back in the Championship. He's currently playing in the French second division, where he has impressed, and he is under contract in France until the summer of 2026. But with a bit of Championship interest from Bristol City and Swansea, a move could be on the cards there. Luton midfielder Alan Campbell is attracting plenty of interest from Scotland right now. He's currently out on loan with Charlton, but with the likes of Aberdeen, Rangers, Hearts and Hibernian eyeing the midfielder on a permanent basis, he could be recalled from that loan spell with Charlton and sold on. One to watch out for in the coming days. West Brom looks set to win the race for Standard Liège midfielder Isaac Price, who looks to be joining the club on a permanent basis. Now, interestingly, West Brom did have quite a prominent interest in the midfielder back in the summer transfer window. However, nothing quite materialised in the end. My club Preston North End were also supposedly sniffing around this one, but it does look like a move to West Brom is now on the cards. It's been suggested that the fee could be anywhere from sort of 1.6 million to 2.1 million. I think West Brom would be getting a good player there. He's at a good age, only 21 years old, has been developing nicely in Belgium of late. He's already been capped 18 times by Northern Ireland as well, a former Everton youth player. I think that one ticks a few boxes for West Brom. We've had a bit of interesting news regarding Coventry forward Brandon Thomas Asante, who has recently been linked with the likes of Blackburn Rovers and Stoke City, obviously. The links at Stoke are quite interesting, obviously, with the Mark Robbins connection there. He was the person that signed him for Coventry originally. Now, the reason why the links are quite interesting is because Thomas Asante started and scored for Cov over the weekend. His goal ultimately made a difference against Bristol City. Now, the majority of his appearances for Coventry this season have come from the bench. He's not had the best of starts to life at Coventry. I think it's fair to say he's only scored 2 goals so far this season, but Frank Lampard has basically come out and said that he is someone who's still part of their plans going forward, albeit that could change if a sizable bid came in from either Blackburn or Stoke in the coming days. Speaking of Stoke City, one forward who could be going out this month is Niall Ennis. Doesn't appear to be part of their long-term plans going forward, and he's currently being eyed up by Blackpool, who are seemingly keen to take him on loan for the remainder of the season as they go in search of a Kyle Joseph replacement as he's set to join Hull City. Ennis, up until this point, has only played 100 minutes of Championship football this season. All 8 of his appearances have come from the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if Stoke do sanction a loan deal for him. Sheffield United have their fingers in a lot of pies right now. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at Bramall Lane. We've had plenty of updates in recent videos about the likes of Tom Cannon, Hamza Chowdhury, Ben Burton Diaz. Well, the latest player that they are being linked to is former Everton fullback John Joe Kenny. He's currently playing for Hertha Berlin in the German second division, but he is now a player being looked at by Sheffield United. He's having a decent individual season up until this point. He's got 6 goal contributions in 17 appearances for the German club. 27 years old as well, and you wouldn't imagine would cost a great deal of money, so you could see why the Blades would be looking at that type of deal. Burnley are weighing up a decision whether or not to offer John Joe Shelvey a contract with the club. The experienced midfielder is currently training with Burnley and obviously is available on a free transfer transfer right now. Would obviously have plenty of experience to that Burnley side. By no means a player at the peak of his powers right now, but I think it's probably quite sensible. Burnley are seeing what he's like in training, and if he is up to the standard, you'd imagine they'd offer him a contract. But another experienced midfielder being considered by Burnley is former Southampton star Stuart Armstrong. He is currently playing in MLS for Vancouver, but could make a swift return to the Championship in January. Now, I really rate Armstrong. I think he played quite an underrated role in Southampton's promotion season last time around. He got 5 goals and 7 assists from midfield for the Saints. Very capable player at this level, and it'll be interesting if Burnley do go in for that sort of deal. But there you guys have it. That will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and drop any other rumours that you've seen going around in the comments down below. Plenty going on in the Championship right now. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel tomorrow, where we'll be having our midweek predictions. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.